Well, this is Cavuto Coast to Coast. I'm David Asman in for Neil today. And as you can see on the left side of your screen, the podium is set up. Obviously, the American flag's there in Geneva, where it is 7 p.m. right now, indicate that's where President Biden is going to be speaking. It was not a dual press conference after their meeting of several hours in Geneva. We had one press conference from President Putin that was just concluded, and now we go to President Biden for a separate press conference. A lot of the media that had been at the Putin event are running over to try to be there for the Biden event now. And we have with us a special guest to give us advice about what we've heard and what we're likely going to hear, former National Security Advisor to former Vice President Mike Pence, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg. Lieutenant General, great to see you. Thank you for being here. The question of whether or not they came to any kind of agreement or will on cybersecurity is a huge issue for this meeting. But we gave away such a huge bargaining chip in terms of giving President Putin permission to go ahead with that gas pipeline between his country and Germany, which most of Europe is against. We gave it to the Russians without anything. In fact, we gave it to them in the same week that we were being hacked by Russians with a colonial pipeline. So it was almost rewarding bad behavior. Where do we go from here? How do we force their hand on anything if we're willing to give away something for nothing?
Yeah, David, first, thanks for having me. Look, I think the president missed a huge opportunity to go side by side with Putin at a press conference. I mean, it shows, I believe, weakness when you don't sit side by side with a competitor like Putin is. President Trump stood side by side with him without notes, talked in 2018 at Helsinki. And to let Putin sit up there and talk for well over 40 minutes, which was really a lot of propaganda, really amazed me. And he covered a lot of areas. He covered the Ukraine, and he covered the cyber area that we just talked about. And when you talk to Putin, and when I was with the president over the last 4 years, President Trump, he operated from strength. When we sanctioned the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden lifted the sanctions on that, that means 80% of the natural gas that is used by Germany will come from Russia. Well, that's a huge economic advantage for Russia, and it cuts out the Ukraine. And we used to operate from other areas of strength. For example, when they sent Russian mercenaries in northern Syria against our special operations troops, the Wagner group, we killed about almost up to 200 of the mercenaries of the Wagner group, sent a clear message to Putin, don't mess with us. Now, when it comes to, let's move quickly to what you talked about the colonial pipeline and about ransomware. We know that attack came out of Russia. There are state sanctions and state-supported attacks. State sanction, that's sort of like North Korea having a cyber attack on us. State sanction means they kind of turned a blind eye to it. And we accommodated that. We shouldn't do that. Our response, and we should have told Putin that, and I don't know if we did, but I don't believe we did. We should have told Putin the next time we get an attack from Russia, we will attack in kind, especially when it's on our critical infrastructure, like pipelines or energy or food supplies like JBS recently was hit. We just cannot tolerate that, and we have to go after him. President Trump rescinded all of the previous Obama restrictions on what we wanted to do with cyber. We basically took the handcuffs off 2 years ago, and Biden should use use that ability to go after him. I think we just gave up too much to Putin today, and especially from the press conference and on what they talked about.
Well, as I was mentioning to our other General Alexander, the Cyber Command actually did engage in counterattacks in 2018 and 2020 that they went public about. There is a tendency with the Biden administration to reverse anything that was done during the Trump administration. Do you think they would go so far as to reverse that is to pull back on counterattacks against Russia if, in fact, we can trace some of the attacks to the government?
Well, it's all a matter of will. Does he want to do that? He has the Cyber Command has the authority to do it. We gave them those authorities 2 years ago when we took off the handcuffs of Cyber Command to go after them. It's the question of will they go after him and will they do it? And we need to tell Putin or anybody else in the world, if you attack our critical infrastructure, we are coming after you. directly to the same thing you're hitting us with. If you hit us on energy, we're going to hit you on energy. You hit us on food supplies, we hit you on food supplies. And take the handcuffs off. They have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
We have a great capacity to do that.
Let me just ask one question before we go to another panel on Ukraine. Putin was talking a little bit about that. Of course, once again, he is a master of deception and disinformation, so what he said was largely deceptive. But what happens if they go into Ukraine? Of course, they took over Crimea in 2014. The Obama administration did little to nothing about that, let them essentially walk in. Will the same thing happen this time if they go into Ukraine again?
Well, to me, that's a European problem. They need to address that. And they have the Minsk agreements, which they talked about.
Yeah.
That's with Germany and French overseeing that, with the OSCE as well. And in the Donbass region, they have the ability to do that. The Russian military clearly does. And they're going to have to address that going forward. That's a good question. Look, we gave lethal aid to the Ukraine. We gave them Javelin anti-armor missiles, the best in the world, something that the Obama administration did not do. But we need to push the Europeans much harder. Instead of holding hands, seeing kumbaya, we need to address that with the Europeans and tell them, look, this is in your backyard. You need to fix it.
Yeah, I don't think kumbaya works very well against the Russian military. It hasn't in the past anyway. Keith Kellogg,
No,
General, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.